Over the past month, I replayed the original Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon PS1 Trilogies, making videos comparing each game along the way. And if the comments on these videos are anything to go by, you guys definitely had opinions. So today, I'm going to start another war in the comments by putting all of these games into one tier list. Completely unscripted, based purely on how much I enjoyed replaying them. Also, if you like this video, consider subscribing. Okay, starting off with the oldest game on this list, Crash Bandicoot 1. And I'm not gonna lie, the controls in this game are pretty rough. I found myself just dying by falling off edges randomly when I was spinning. I'm not sure if this was intentional or a bug, but it was pretty frustrating sometimes. Basically, the whole game is just trial by dying, and it is a very difficult game. But to be fair, that is the appeal of Crash Bandicoot, is the difficulty. I really did enjoy the maps, how it went from the island view into the specific level. For a PS1 game, I found this was really cool and really creative. Probably the most egregious thing for me, and I didn't mention it in my review, was the fact that you can't actually save the game unless you complete a bonus round. So it really did just kind of make me rush as fast as I could, skipping the boxes, taking no risk to finish the bonus round to save my game. I don't know if this was just a limitation, but the other games you could save, so I'm not sure what was going on there. But compared to all of the other games on this list, I do think that the original Crash Bandicoot 1 is probably C tier. I would say it's probably C tier. Okay, and now onto Spyro the Dragon. And I'm not gonna lie, this game is just all round great. The movement is fantastic. I think the animations behind that movement are also really good. For the first game in the trilogy, it also had a great amount of enemy variety, which I appreciated over Crash Bandicoot. It also had a great kind of semi-open world. That's kind of my favorite open world type of game. The collectibles were great. There was a lot of things to do post-game as well. Probably my #1 problem with Spyro the Dragon, and it really isn't much of an issue, is that it was probably a bit too easy compared to Crash, but that is just kind of part of the appeal, is that it's a chill platformer that you can kind of just grab the controller and sit down and play without stressing too much. But ranking Spyro the Dragon, the first one, I do think that it is an S tier game. Now for Crash Bandicoot 2. And this game had the most dramatic shift in terms of movement and controls than any other sequel that I think I've ever played. Everything is tight, the movement is great. It's kind of taken away the floatiness of Crash from the first game. With the addition of the slide jump, you can move a lot faster compared to the original. We also have the ability to save the game now, which is great. And I also like the presentation of saving it, where you could do it at these kind of little screens in the warp rooms. And speaking of the warp rooms, I like that they could be a little bit more creative with the level designs, because you could just warp to wherever you wanted to. I will be fair and admit that a lot of the levels share the same type of theme. It only really changes as you get later on into the game. And along with more variety in the levels, they also had a lot more enemy types in those levels. It made the obstacles, those enemies, a little bit more challenging. You had to think a bit more rather than just kind of running up and pushing square. Sometimes you had to slide at them. Sometimes you had to jump on their heads. My biggest complaint with Crash 2, and if you watch my review, you'll know this, are the ice levels. I can't stand ice levels. It's probably just because I'm old and terrible at video games now. I really struggled in every single way to do these. But overall, Crash 2, I definitely think is S tier. I would put it above Spyro 1, but definitely an S tier game. Okay, and now for Spyro 2, Riptos Rage. And my main biggest complaint for this game, and I think a lot of people share the same complaint, is that there's too many mini-games. I really enjoyed the 3D open world platforming of the first game. I really liked how creative they were with it. I just feel like that has kind of disappeared from the second game, and they went too far towards the mini-games. They did add some more movesets to Spyro, like the hover is a really good touch, and the swimming for a PS1 game is amazing. I thought it was fantastic. They also added climbing. One thing I will say that I just don't like in these games, Spyro 2 and 3 especially, is the paywall system. I cannot stand having simple moves and levels being paywalled by money bags. Some people didn't mind and thought it was okay because there's a lot of gems to pay for it. I just feel like it took away from that chill vibe of the first one, kind of cruising through the levels. And I had to make sure that I had enough money to unlock the climb or open up a new level. But these are kind of minor complaints. I also did like the boss fights in the second game. They were a big improvement. But overall, ranking Spyro 2, I definitely think it's not as good as the first game, but it's definitely better than the first Crash game. I would put it in B tier. Now for Crash 3, or Crash Warped as it's actually named. And there's not really much to say in terms of movement with this game. It's basically exactly the same as Crash 2, except they added the power-ups as you go along, like the double jump and the death tornado spin, which is a crazy name, by the way. I also liked the level variety here. There's definitely a lot more than the second game in terms of both the theme and the actual levels themselves, like what you're actually doing. My main complaint is 100% the vehicle levels. Some of them are okay. The one I enjoyed the most has got to be Coco riding the tiger on top of the Great Wall of China. That was a really fun level. I thought they were really creative. I know it's the same as Crash on Polar in the second game, but I just thought it was a really cool theme. The worst levels, in my opinion, were the motorbike riding, the swimming levels, the jet ski levels, and the flying levels. They all felt terrible to control. I don't know why they repeated these levels so many times, because I could not stand playing them. They were okay to play. The worst one by far was the motorcycle level. I just couldn't do it. It really took me a lot of time to beat it, so I might just be bad. But Crash 3, I do think, besides the vehicle levels, I think that Crash 3's platforming is probably the best in the series. So I'm going to put Crash 3 in S tier. Bottom of S tier, but it's still really good. And then onto Spyro 3, or Spyro Year of the Dragon. By far, this is the best and most polished version of Spyro. All of the moves here feel great. There's no input lag or anything like that. I think it works the best here. This game had a great comeback from the overabundance of mini-games in the second game. There's definitely still present in this game, but it's not the main focus of this game. I think it's a really good middle ground between the first game and the second game. It's got great platforming, great flight levels. It's also got a couple of mini-games, but it's not overbearing. I think this has got the most in-depth story out of all of these games, but that's not really saying that much because these games don't have crazy stories. The last thing I'll address with Spyro 3 are the new playable characters. The main issues I had with them, it felt like their movesets just weren't polished enough compared to Spyro. It really felt like a downgrade, going from Spyro to playing as any of these other characters. But that being said, it did add a lot more variety to the game itself. But ranking Spyro 3, I definitely think it's an A tier game. Now, I also just wanted to touch on the remakes of these games. A lot of people in the comments were asking me to talk about the remakes, but they're basically exactly the same games, so I don't know if it would make a really good video. The first thing that I did want to address, after replaying all of the PS1 games, and I have played these remakes, I preferred the low poly art of the PS1 versions than I did of like the high polished version of the remakes. I'm not saying one is better, I just preferred the low poly art. It was really charming compared to the oversaturatedness of the remakes. But starting with Spyro the Reignited trilogy, I found this basically exactly the same. Like, I would rank all three games exactly the same as I have for the remake as I did the originals. It's really just a fresh coat of paint. They really didn't improve that much. Unless I'm missing something, I don't think they added anything additional. So I would just kind of put it between all of them. So I guess A tier if that's between S, A, and B. The main thing for the Crash Bandicoot remakes was the first game. They added a lot of quality of life. You can now save the game. You can see your gems in the start menu. Where I think the Crash remakes went wrong, and I'm not 100% on this, I think the hitboxes were weird. Like Crash's hitbox, I found myself sliding off ledges a lot. The hitboxes of enemies, I feel like I was getting hit by things and dying, and I really wasn't even touching them. So in my opinion, I think that the Crash 1 remake is definitely better than the original, simply because it had those quality of life things. But 2 and 3, I would 100% say stick to the PS1 versions. I think that they're far superior than the remakes. So I think I would just put the Crash Insane trilogy somewhere in between these. I think either A or B. It's good for the first game, but the last two, I definitely would say play the PS1 games. Probably B tier. And that's my tier list for the Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon PS1 trilogies, and also the remakes. This was completely unscripted and just based purely on how much fun I had replaying these games. But let me know in the comments if you disagree. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people that disagree. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.